Been dodging me long enough. This is a very long-awaited conversation between me and the goat. You know what the goat means?
Oh, please. Of course.
Because then, the greatest of all time.
Mm-hmm.
How are you, love?
I am well. It's so good to have you home.
Yes, I know. It's been a while. It has been a minute, eh?
Mm-hmm.
But yes, people, this is the goat. Miss is Spence, the one that brought forward the Blake Spence into the world. You get me? But before we go any further, I want the people to know that your opinions are very credible and they're educated. So I want you to let the people know your education and your training background. So which high school did you go to?
I went to the Woolmars Girls' School.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I went to UTech as well. I did my teacher training diploma at UTech.
Mm-hmm.
I also did my management studies at UTech, and I did my first master's at UTech. I did my master's in workforce education and development at UTech.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went to Sweden to do my master's in project management.
Yes.
Where I have...
How long did you spend in Sweden?
I spent just a little over a year in Sweden, and that was phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, people, this is going to be a very intellectual conversation. If it's not clear by now, she's very educated and very knowledgeable. So any opinion she shares with us, why are you looking at me like that? So any opinion she shares with us is very, in my opinion, very credible and an educated opinion. You get me? So
Prayerfully.
yes. So firstly, there is the phrase or the debate about who is the prize in a relationship. Some women say they are the prize, I guess because they are so beautiful and they bring forth children and whatever the case may be. And some men would debate that they are not the prize because they are the providers and the protectors and they can hire somebody else to cook and clean and all of those things, so they don't really need them other than to bring forth a child. You get me?
Mm-hmm.
But what is your opinion on that? And who is the prize, if there any of them is a prize?
Well, I'm also a Christian.
Yes.
And so my opinion is based on my beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that in any relationship, God is the prize because He is the one that holds the relationship together. I think independently, we can believe we are the prize. We should value...
Who is we? Women?
We, meaning whoever is in the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So the man should believe he is a prize because you must believe that you have the value that you bring to the relationship. And the woman should also think that she is a prize because she too brings value to the relationship. I think independently we can be precious, but together, that is where the true gold happens. And the only person that can hold this prize together or make this prize valuable to both parties is God Himself. So I think God is the glue and the one that will make it last, the one that will make it continue to shine, and that the prize will hold its value for as long as the relationship wants to be, as long as both persons are alive.
So what would you say about people who are so religious?
Well, the thing about relationship, it's very tricky. And as humans, we tend to be selfish. And when we think above ourselves or beyond ourselves, that's when things tend to work. And so even if you're not a Christian and you're in a relationship, it's important
when I say not religious, I don't mean Christianity, I mean like you're not a Muslim, you're not...
Right. So if you're not religious at all, it's important to believe that the other person is just as valuable as you are. I think whenever there's a mismatch, when relationships start to become fragile, it's when one person feels like they're not enough or the other person feels like they are more important. But you find that even in a team, even if we're not talking about a relationship and a team, in order for anything to work well, people need to be united in heart, mind, and soul and feel like each person brings a value. And so for me, therefore, relationships are based on how you see the other person's value and not just focusing on yourselves. I remember when you were in a relationship and it wasn't going well, we reminded you that it's the other person's loss because you bring, of course, because you brought some value to the relationship. And so that is what a mother or a father would say to a child. You have to nurture someone to believe that you are of value. And therefore, when you're in a relationship, you too need to see the value that you're getting and you're giving in this relationship. It's always two ways.
I just need to put the crown on
No,
it.
please.
I just need to put the crown on it. But
All my opinion, okay? No one has to agree. It's how I see things.
yeah, but what a tricky thing is the holding of power. Like say I am attracted to a girl, or the other way around, the girl is attracted to me. Without if neither me nor the woman has the opinion that we are the prize, how does one go about the vetting process? Like say a woman would use playing hard to get to see if the guy really wants it.
For me, with relationships, as I said, relationships are tricky, and I'm so happy I'm old school. Because it's too
Thank God.
hard
Thank
these
God.
days. It's too hard these days. But I think before anybody begins to think about a relationship, you need to build a friendship. And friendships are usually the foundation of anything. And so the long enough you get to see, understand somebody, you see how they are with their friends, you see how they are in their family, you see them in different contexts. You see how they are and how people respond to them. Then that gives you kind of a 360 view of the individual. And so if the person is playing hard to get, I am not so sure what that means really, because when I was courting, I knew I liked him. And I wasn't so sure if he liked me. But each time I would make sure that he knew that I knew him and knew the things
You
he
knew
liked.
he existed.
Yeah, I made sure to let him know that I know he existed, and I was trying to get his attention. But he had to pursue me. I wasn't the one calling him, texting him. Well, we never had text those days. It was telephone, and not cell phone, but telephone, because it's 28 years now. But I had to see too that he was interested with me, in me, because it's two ways, right? So playing hard to get, in my mind, is for someone you don't really know. But if you've built the friendship and you understand the person and you've seen their lifestyle, and as I said, you've seen them in different contexts, then you either admire that person and want to be around that person, or he repels you or she repels you, and you know this is not what you're looking for. So I am not so sure I understand the concept of hard to get, because it doesn't make sense for you to spend your time pursuing something you're not interested in.
Yeah.
You know, it has to be that you see something there and you might not even be sure, but you want to find out. So it's mutual. So he needs to be giving as much as she is giving. So you know, or even if he's not giving as much, you give what you are able to give in the relationship in terms of conversation and time, and then you get to know the person. But I don't think it makes sense to invest your time in a person that you figure you're not, you both of you are not compatible. It's always a repelling situation, or you're always quarreling about things. He doesn't like what you like, you don't like what he likes. If you can't compromise because you'd like to get to understand what he likes, to see if you like it, and you see if you like it. But if it's totally distasteful to you and you'll never see yourself liking it even after you've tried it, then you need to feel comfortable enough to say, okay, I'm young enough to pursue something else. Or we can remain friends because on some level we still gel, but the kind of relationship you're looking for, this might not be it. And I figure people should take their time in relationships, because the relationship you may have by the time you're 30, you would have had enough friendships to see what are the things you like, what are the things you don't like. Some people will be your friend for life, but they may not be your mate for life, or they're your mate, so you can have different friends, but all of them don't need to be the friend that you feel like you have to have right away. So give yourself time, enjoy life, enjoy people, enjoy relationships, see the difference there are in people, because this whole world gives you so many to choose from that sometimes you're so focused on finding the one that you don't get to enjoy the other things there are.
You believe in soulmate? Or a soulmate is someone that has to be created?
I
Because there's one side of it where you would probably think they're out there, but you just haven't met them yet, or it's somebody that you would have to meet and that person becomes your soulmate.
I think it's both ways. I think people sometimes find their soulmate, but I think some people grow together to become soulmates. So yeah, I think it could be either.
I remember one time, you don't know this still, but one time I talked to a girl. You don't know her. She wasn't of that much significance. But you know what I'm trying to say. Don't get all that. But
I don't like the way that sounds, but okay.
You know what I mean? But I was chilling with a girl at the time. In my mind, okay, I'm being honest with you. So don't,
I won't judge you.
Okay,
I won't judge
I'm
you.
being honest with you. When I speak to a girl, I don't really have the intention to go beyond desire and satisfaction. Okay? So whenever there's a case where I'm actually in a relationship with a girl, it's because my intentions were blocked by her aura, her personality, and everything. So like say, I'm only going to her for fun, but because of her vibe and how she is as a person, it's like she wheel out a fishing hook and hook me by my collar. Just make me want to, for the long run. But back to what I was saying. I was talking to the girl for probably 2 months. But in my head, she was just fun. And you know what I mean? But but we're talking one time, and the girl asked me why I don't take her serious. And in my head, I'm like, it's only been 2 months. How can I trust you after 2 months? So in my head, I'm like, that means this girl she's just happy. She wears her heart on her sleeve, but she don't know how Blakey stay. I don't stay. You know that. I don't. In my history, it's just been a very few. So that opened my eyes, and she's my age. So it's not a case where she's young and going through life. She was my age. But then again, I was probably 21 at that time still. But 2 months, and she expected me to trust her, to take her seriously, man.
Which is what I'm talking about. I think this generation is too eager to move things very quickly.
And that's the thing, because they will want to be in a relationship and still give you a bond.
No, but it's not about that yet. It takes you a year, 2 years to get to see somebody.
That's exactly my
Which is why I'm saying you don't need to be in a rush. You can have several friends that you are trying to figure out at the same time. So nobody needs to be as steady until you really feel like this is the one. Then you go steady. But you shouldn't be able to, in my mind and in my opinion, commit to somebody right away. It should be that you're exploring in that, not even the sex part, because that complicates things.
Yeah.
So it's hanging with friends, getting to know the person. And as I said, seeing them in different contexts, not just you and them alone, but see how they are with their friends, see who their friends are, see who some of their relatives are, not even their parents, because you don't go to parents unless you're serious.
You know that?
Yeah, so it's like if they have cousins that they're friends with and they're going out with cousins, if you have old schoolmates that you're hanging out with and they care for you to come along. So it's just seeing the person and hanging with the person and getting to know them and getting to see if their likes are your likes or if you can like their likes. So it's more fun. I think young people should have more fun learning about each other before wanting to do the sex thing or wanting to get serious or anything like that. It totally detracts when you get that way so quickly, and that will perhaps
Repel.
it keeps you from a lot of heartbreak and hurts, when you go like you're losing time when you're just 19 and 20, when you have your whole life ahead of you. Your father and I didn't get married until we dated for about 3 years before he asked me to marry him.
Exactly.
Well, we dated steadily for a year, but we were seeing each other now and then. I was seeing other guys, he was seeing other, because we were dating different people. But then when we felt like we liked each other enough, then we started steady dating after 3 years. So of the 3 years, 1 year we steady dated.
Okay. So as it relates to marriage now, what are some of the boxes that some people should tick? And when I say boxes, I don't mean like handsome, tall, but like what boundaries or milestones should be acknowledged before you say.
Okay.
Wait, before you answer that, when you think about a woman proposing,
again, I'm old school. And I think a man should lead. And you need to understand what I mean by a man should lead. Let me explain that clearly for everyone to understand. Lead in everything, meaning he should lead in respect, he should lead in honesty, he should lead in trust, he should lead in taking care of his family, he should lead in being the first to apologize, he should lead his family by setting the example. So I believe that a man should lead in every respect, right? And so for me, this is a different day and age, and people are
for sure
independent and there are no boxes, even though you asked me about boxes. So people will do what they want, regardless. Personally, I would want to know that the man desired me enough to ask me. So I would prefer him asking me. That would be my response. I do not know the reason other women would want to ask or propose, but personally, I would want to know that he desired me enough to want to ask me. That would be my answer to that. With regard to the boxes, although there are no boxes these days, I think a woman should know the boy of the man she's marrying. And by this, I mean, who was he as a young man? What were the things his parent taught him? Were they abusive? Were they kind? Were they nurturing? Did they give him positive vibes? Did they tell him that he can succeed no matter what? Did they pamper him and prep him and kept him from realities in life? Did they never give him the opportunity to fight for what he wanted, or gave him the opportunity to be his own person?
His character, basically.
Yes, building his character from an early age. When you understand the kind of nurturing and nature, the kind of nature nurture that this young man has as a child, that's the exact man you're marrying when he's older. Because certain things in your childhood dictates who you are as an adult. And so I think the woman should understand who this man she's marrying is or was when he was a child, who he was or how he was nurtured. And I think the very thing for the man. Because when you get older, for example, you see the adult, you see me now fully grown, but you do not know some of the things that I have as baggage or in my history or in my past that influence the way I am in certain spaces. And so therefore I might have a habit or a character that you figure, oh, that's how he is. But the root of it is important. And that way, both of you knowing each other, that depth, help you in later years to know how to deal with it. So then it's not surprising to you if something comes up later on, because you know the kind of childhood your man, now man,
I realize you haven't liked or subscribed yet, so just take a minute and do that for me now, man. Alright, now back to the show.
has, or your woman has. So that's one of the things I would definitely say before you get married. The next thing I'd say, when you start to have children, make it at least a year or two after, because you need to enjoy each other. Because when the children come, or when the child come, it's going to be very hard. Not that you don't, because you should still enjoy each other, but it is not as much as when you don't have a child around. You get to learn so much about each other. But when the children come, it's now three of you. And as much as you love each other, it's not the same. You're now dividing your love with your child. And so it's not really dividing, it's adding. But it feels like division if it is that you've not spent the time building your lives together and really appreciating each other. So when the child comes together, you can give to that child, instead of feeling like the woman is giving all her child time to the child and not so much to me, or the man is giving all his child time to the child, and not more to me. So it makes sense that you really spend that time building each other up and really loving upon each other and getting to know each other in a deep way, so that when the child comes, it's an additional person to love and doesn't feel like you're fighting for each other time. I think those are some of the tools I've learned, that I think I'd love to share.
In this generation, you probably don't know, because this generation is, I tell my friends all the while, our mothers are the last women will grow a certain way. Because if you and your boyfriend stop talking, you'd have to meet another one. While if you and a girl stop talking, now she can go on her phone and get another one, like in less than a minute. You get me? But this generation now, they want finished products. But a lot of them don't know what finished products come with. So
what is a finished product?
Listen, I'm getting there.
Okay.
So what I want you to share with them is, if you don't want to answer, I'll edit it out. What are the things that you have to know and understand with dealing with a successful man? Because none of them want to be stay-at-home wives.
If it is that your husband can make you a stay-home wife and that's what you want, then go for it. I think I do not, as again, I go back to my spirituality. And I think a successful man is a man who loves God first. Because when he loves...
Let me fix the question. When I say successful, I mean like financially.
Oh, but that's not for me, finance is not what makes someone successful.
Yeah, I know. That's why I had to change it. When they want a man when I say finished product, they want a man that is good financially. So I want you to let them know what it's like dealing with somebody that is financially.
I see.
What it's like and what it comes with, because they don't know. They think it's all...
Okay. But remember, you see, for me, it's not so much like that, because when we got married, we really had
zilch.
Nothing. Right. When I say nothing, I mean where finances are concerned. We had each other and it was enough. We were fulfilled because we had each other and we had ambitions, and we felt like this was not the end of life. But we felt like quality of life was important. Quality of life at the time, well, still means spending time building up each other, right? And so having a finished product, for me, you miss the whole process. You see what I'm saying? So the finished product, it's it's not as valuable in my mind, and we're talking about relationship, as getting there. Because then you get to see the ambition, you get to see how you've grown, you get to see how much it takes. Together you overcome challenges. It builds your character. When you're at a low end, there's someone to help you up, or if the person is at a low end, you're there to build them up. And you have people who surround you as well that help you when you are at a low point. So the process to me is what was important, which keeps you where you are now. So you have friends, a few, very few of them. You have family members, very few of them, and you have each other. And so for me, it's not so much the finished product, but it was the journey.
That made the finished product even more.
Even makes, yeah, the value, because it's not, so you're not even looking on the fact that it's finished, because it's a process. And so you still have to get up every morning and work through challenges. You still have to get up every morning and see how the things that you're facing in life, how to deal with them. And so for anybody to be successful, whether in relationship or in a job or at a sport, it's not that you get here as a champion or as the greatest or the GOAT, just that way. You'll have to hear the story about that person before the person got there. So persons who want a finished product, you're really devaluing the product. You need to want to build something for yourself or with the person together, and then that makes it all the more worthwhile.
Ladies, I'll be paying attention to the GOAT. Okay. But yeah, what do you think about planning a child? Do you think it's important to plan a child or to just have a child? Do you think it's very something that's very, very important?
I think it's, as I said earlier about your relationship, right? With Stephen and I. We had a few years together.
Yeah.
We had 3 years
definitely
together.
planned.
Right. So planning is important because you want to prepare for anything, not just a child. If you're planning to buy a house, if you're planning to buy a car, and I'm not likening a child to a car or a house. I'm just saying when you want to give a child the best that you can, it helps to prepare. And I'm not saying that you can't have a child that you don't plan for. It happens every day and people still do well. You know, so it's not either or, but it really does help when you're prepared, because then you have certain things in place and you've thought ahead. Versus when it just happened, then you just have to start to plan. You know, either way, you'll have to plan.
But what if you're 35 and single?
Then you still have to plan. What do I want to do? I know a friend of mine was 30 something and single, and she did in vitro, which means she got a sperm inserted to her and it matured her eggs, and she had twins on her own. And persons adopt. Persons, you
don't
know,
hit the same though.
You'll never know, because if you are 30 and single and without a child, you don't know what it is to have a child. This is the only experience you will know, and you make it your own. So in life, for me, you do not watch what other people say or do. You create your life with in the best way you know how. You cannot feel pressured by outside, which is why, again, being a Christian is so important. Your anchor is
religious.
God. Your anchor is God. And therefore, your vision, your life, your milestones, the way you live your life and the way you perceive life is through that lens. And so therefore, the world is not a pressure to you. Of course it is, but you're able to manage it because your focus is on what God wants. It's not what the world pressure you to think, because the world is upside down as far as I'm concerned. People do things just like you do things, but if things come out in the open about you, they'll judge you. even though they do the same thing. And that's just, and people like things, and it's just a different world in my mind, and it's too much pressure because people are too shallow. You don't get deep enough with people to understand people, to look them in the eye, or you go out with them and have a conversation with them. When you go out in a restaurant, and we have been out to dinner or lunch, and I say, look around, and what's everybody doing? And they're sitting across from someone. People don't take the time to talk, to get to understand people. And so the world and everything else seem to be so important. And that is distracting for me.
But I think another thing is, even with you, I think a woman could be a stay-at-home woman up until a certain point. Because if you're with a person that is financially successful, he's always working. Yeah. He's always working. So I feel like the stay-at-home period will have to be like when it comes down to the children. Because, like say I reach a certain age now, so I'm no longer in the house. You need to occupy your time somehow, or else you just be in the house watching Netflix, and I'm sure you watch every Netflix series already.
Right. You'll have to be benevolent.
Yeah, you'll have to have something to do.
You'll have to be benevolent and want to volunteer.
Finds work
for idle hands.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I think staying at home doesn't technically mean you stay at home. It perhaps means that you do not get up, get dressed to go to a physical place called work. But you do stuff.
Have a purpose.
Right. You do stuff that you get up in the morning and get dressed to go and do. So you may be benevolent where you serve somewhere, or you volunteer somewhere, or you join an organization where your skills are valued. So you can do something that is of value to the community, or to your school, or to your church, or even the neighborhood within which you live. There are several organizations that you can volunteer. You can mentor, you can coach, or you can go back to school, perhaps to fulfill a long lost dream that you had, that you wanted to do something. Yeah. So I don't think staying at home means that every morning you get up and you stay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I have two personal questions. One, I'm not going to put you at the spot. What the first one is, I'm not saying I'm against it, but why is it so important for me to be married before I have a child?
Okay. Let me put the question back to you. Did it provide some amount of stability knowing that your mother and your father were always at home providing for you? So that's one, the stability it creates. Also, what do you think, what happened when I was not around, when I had to do work travel? What happened?
But then we used to always fall out.
Yeah. Not just that, but it was all the things that you figure. Because here's the thing, the father, and I'm not saying that it can't happen if he's not living at the house, but the father brings certain values and character building traits to the family, and so does the mother. I should begin by saying the Bible, again, I go back to, right? So the Bible speaks to a marriage, and that was one of the first things that Jesus did when he started his ministry. He turned water into wine at a wedding in Canaan, which means marriages are something that's supported in the Bible, right? And so I believe that the amount of stability it brings to a relationship, the woman herself and to the man, that is, to me, it creates harmony. And therefore, when you bring a child into a space where there's harmony, then the likelihood of you being able to nurture and allow nature to take its toll on this child is very helpful. So I think, so let's leave that there and let's go to the alternative. Why would a man want to be with a woman and have a child with her if he doesn't care about both her and the child enough to spend the rest of his life with her? What value is that to the child and to the woman? Unless she says, I do not want to marry you, but I want to have your child. Then I guess that's an agreeable situation. If she says to you, I don't need marriage, I just need a child, how would you feel? That you're a sperm donor, perhaps.
I think that's a question that's deeper than the surface.
Yeah. So for me, there's so many angles to this question. I don't think I'll be able to influence anybody outside of this podcast either way, because they'll still punch holes in the conversation that you can still be a good father if you're not married to the mother. You can still be a good mother if you're not married. There are several excellent children whose mother and father are not married, and those are all very valid. My mother wasn't married to my father.
And look at this gem.
And I am fine. But my conviction is that I found the way I have you, a more stable way, because I've never lived with my mother, nor did I ever live with my father. My grandmother raised me.
Realize they still haven't done it yet. Still waiting. Alright, back.
So as much as I knew my mother and I knew my father, my mother wasn't able to physically raise me. So there were some things missing there. Neither was my father, because he was in a different relationship.
Do I want to break the cycle?
So so I mean, anybody out there listening to this podcast will punch millions of holes into why it is you don't have to be married to have children and all of that. And I'm not going to go in that debate. But what I find that works for me is that I follow the word of God, and I find that the stability it brings for the woman, for the man, and for the child. Which is why I believe you should not, and I'm saying you, Blake, should not want to, and it also brings drama. What if afterwards you find a woman that you want to marry? Right? And the woman you
But
had
that
a
could
child
also
with,
happen if you're married. Couldn't it?
could, yeah. It could. But you mean the man will go out and have a child anyway?
No, meaning like you're saying, suppose I have a child with a woman, and then I end up finding the person
That you
that I
want to
want to
marry.
marry. I could have already married the person and have a child with her and still find somebody else, couldn't I?
But why would you do that? What kind of value and stability it would bring to your space? And that's what I'm saying. It's the value and the stability that matters. And for me, that is the word of God. That is the word of God. You know, it is wholesome, and it's fulfilling. And that is my conviction, and I'm sticking to it.
Okay. So the second personal question is, would you say that the work ethic and the result of your husband inspired you to accomplish all that you have?
Stephen inspires me, full stop. And he has so many qualities that anyone would be inspired by. But my achievements are achieved because I wanted them. I do take value in his words, and I listen, and I choose what I want to, and I leave what I don't. So for me, I too have to have my values, my goals, and feel like I'm fulfilling them, not because somebody else tells me to, but because it's what I want to do as well. So it's not because he inspired me to get where I am. I personally was motivated to achieve what I wanted as well.
Okay. We're taking our time to wrap up now. What is the most important aspect of life to you?
My walk with God. It has created so much, what would I say, relief, peace in my life, that there is no way I could walk this life without my relationship with God. I have had so many experiences in this world, and good and bad. And that's what I mean, good and bad. And even in my darkest hour, or in the lowest point of my life, I was able to rebound and come back even stronger because of my walk with God. And so the most important thing in this life to me is my walk with God. Next to having you, of course.
Duh! Duh! Come on.
So let's not even go there, but seriously,
You get me?
seriously, yeah, it's my walk with God. It's been amazing. It's been incredible. It's been life-changing. And I am where I am now, I think, because of just that kind of focus, that kind of vision, and that kind of strength and confidence, knowing that God's got me. He's got my back. So no matter what the day is, I will come out stronger than I was. And all the scars you see are the telltale sign that I'm stronger than anything that ever would want to destroy me.
No, well, one thing I have to tip my hats off to you about. You are a very strong woman. You are a very strong woman. Really, the two of we?
Yeah.
With you, the two of us, they are a very strong woman. I have to give you that. The last question is, what was your definition of success in high school versus your definition of success now?
Okay. In high school, because then you're still in your teenage years, so you're filled with folly and you still don't know yourself. So success then was to pass your exams and to...
No, when I say success, I mean success in life.
Oh, you mean what I thought, who I
Success,
thought someone
yeah.
was successful. Oh boy, that's so long ago. Success then,
Doesn't look
I
it.
think I went to Woolmer's Girls and I grew up poor, but I didn't know it then. I knew I was poor probably when I was in my 20s. I didn't know when I was growing up that I was poor, to tell you the truth. There were no measure in terms of, but anyway, back to your question. I thought success was having a car, because most persons took the bus back then. And I had one friend whose father came and picked her up from school. And we used to long to drive in that car to go to Crossroads from Woolmer's Girls School. And I thought her father was successful because he had a car. And I think that was primary school. In high school, I thought success was... I don't know what I thought success was in high school, to be honest. I can't remember who a successful person was. I honestly can't think of it. And now I think a successful person who is someone who does not give up trying. Because you know why the colonel at KFC is always that old man in the picture? He never succeeded until he was 72. He kept trying and failed at every single thing he did, but he never gave up. And when he was 72, he decided that he was going to start frying chicken. And at 72 years old, he became successful. So for me, success is someone who never gives up trying.
And with that, folks, Mind Fix Podcast with Blakey G and the GOAT, Altia G. I'm out.
Bye.